And we're
And we
live.
are live. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Happy December, everyone. This is Earth School Journey. I am your host, Uni, and this is my lovely co-Steph, Umi Steph. Hi, Umi Steph.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am good. I'm excited to be here. It's a beautiful day. Yeah, I'm ready for this new month, this new conversation. Yeah.
Yes, me too. We are here today for another homeroom check-in. We are in the month of December 2025. Can you imagine? Like, can you believe how fast this year has gone? Like, it is the end of the year, the last month, the last 30 days. It's crunch time. I feel like there's so much to do, but so many opportunities to also relax too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting because this month we'll hit 6 months of our podcast being live and like actually actively being consistent.
Yes, yes, yay
So,
for
yeah.
consistency.
Yes, yes, I'm so proud of us. So we have that to celebrate in a few weeks and much to come in the new year. So,
Yes,
yep.
absolutely. So this month we are talking about unconditional love. Look at Owen. He's making his cameo early. He's like, listen, y'all gonna see me early.
Unconditional
um,
love.
Unconditional love, exactly. We love Owen unconditionally for sure. And so we we are during our homeroom check-in, we like to set our intentions for the month, come up with an affirmation for the month. We also, do a presence check-in. We consider some journal questions. We tell you about, some upcoming events that we have going on. And then we also talk about some of the transits so that we can kind of stay in tune with what's going on in the universe. So, we're gonna dive right in and Umi, just real quick, what is your thoughts on unconditional love? So when someone says unconditional love, what do you think?
Hmm. Um, it's one reason why I'm glad we're doing this month is I feel like I need to get straight on what I feel like unconditional love is because you think of it as someone loving you no matter what, right? No matter what. But what does that look like? You know, what does it look like? And as someone who feels like they love people unconditionally, I still cut people out of my life when they are not good to me. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean I don't love them and things like that. So I'm really interested in us having this conversation, to get it right in my own mind. Like, what is this unconditional love thing? I often have trouble. Like, I'll have do a guided meditation where they'll be like, imagine that a time when you were unconditionally loved or you felt unconditional love, and I'm like, I don't know that I know what that feels like. um and so, yeah, in my mind, unconditional love is, it's loving someone no matter what they do, but it's not necessarily meaning that they have to be in your life or that they have to be around you, or that you have to deal with their crap. So, but looking at that in the reverse is who's putting up with me and my crap. So, this conversation is going to be good because honestly, I don't know that I have a good answer for that question right now.
That is so real. And thank you for that honesty. I am in the same boat with you. When I was thinking about it, I'm like, gee, like when I think about my life, like I don't think I have any examples of like unconditional love. And if they were, like the ones that I've seen kind of seem more toxic to me than healthy, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to getting clear on what that looks like to me as well. And just making sure that I am, not only being that, but immersing myself in that, surrounding myself with that. So, yeah, let's dive right in. So, first, we like to start off with our intention for the month. So, what is your intention for the month, Umi?
So the intention that I set is to, well, I wrote it down, so I might as well just read it. I intend to experience more unconditional love than I ever have before.
Ah, that's so beautiful. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Oh, that's beautiful. So, for me, my intention is to immerse myself in unconditional love in different
Mm,
ways. And so when I think about that, because I was like, what does that look like? What does that sound like? And I just want to like meditate on unconditional love. I just want to, when I drink my water, set intentional, love over, speak intentional love over the water before I drink it. Set, intentional love as my intention each and every day when I wake up in the morning and before I go to bed at night. You know what I mean? Just some ways that I plan on doing that. And allowing it to show up in my life and really paying attention to when it shows up, you know what I mean? Because I feel like if it's something that we don't necessarily, we're like, oh, we don't really know kind of like what it looks like or what it feels like, are we dismissing it or overlooking it when it does show up? You know what I
mhm,
mean? So
mhm.
my intention is to immerse myself in unconditional love. So
Yeah, I love that. I feel like we both are although we're wording them a little differently and they'll manifest a little differently. It's like we both want to know what it feels like
yes.
to be loved unconditionally and to love unconditionally. Those are two sides of the coin, and so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, your affirmation for this month. What is your affirmation?
My affirmation is I am the unconditional love I seek.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And it starts with us. You know what I mean? Like that's something that a lot of times, people don't realize like we're looking for it outside of ourselves, but we have to be that. We have to, like we're doing, define that, feel that, know that within ourselves so that we can be that for ourselves and others. So I love that. That's
Mhm.
amazing.
Thank you.
So the affirmation that I came up with was I recognize unconditional love. And I say that because or I am able to recognize unconditional love. And so I say that because like I said a few minutes ago, like sometimes I feel like, have I overlooked it? Have I sidestepped unconditional? Like have I denied myself unconditional love?
Right.
And so I want to be able to recognize it. Same as you within myself, it starts with me and also in life in general and with people around me. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's the affirmation I have set. Oh, did we
Okay.
lose our sis Umi? What happened?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
Oh,
there you are. I still heard you, but I
click
didn't
something.
see you. Yeah, okay. Don't click anything now. I'm just
Something popped up. I tried to get rid of it, and I think I hit the wrong button.
Ah,
Right.
gotcha. Okay, well, you're
I'm
back.
here.
That's all that matters. Yes. All right. So next is our presence check-in. So, yes, we've been talking about unconditional love for the last 10 minutes, but have and we've identified that we are, maybe not able to know it when we say, or we haven't really defined it for ourselves, but we still like to do a presence check-in. Like, how present have you been with unconditional love? Like, have you thought about it for today? I mean, I know we've done some
Right.
planning, you know what I mean, over the last week, but have you thought about unconditional love? Have you tried to be present with unconditional love? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I I want to say that I don't think I've been as present as I should be with it. You know, I think I feel unloved. I feel uncared for, unwanted, like I can identify that, and I'm present with that probably way too much. And I think that this month is really going to challenge me to be present to where I am loved unconditionally and where I'm loving unconditionally. And so I think I have not, up until this point, been very present with it, which is really why I'm excited about us having this conversation. And I don't think I've done a lot of exploring of what love is. It just in general, take off the unconditional. What is love? What does that mean? And yeah, I don't feel like I've been very present with it. I have a very where I have a very hard time feeling it. Um and as I'm sitting here thinking, feeling into this, I'm feeling, it's got to do with that mother wound, that I don't your mother is usually the one that loves you unconditionally. And so since I have not had that, my love with my mother is very conditional.
Hmm.
At least her love of me, and
Hmm.
so and probably my love of her as well. I don't want to just put it all on her not being the loving one, but I was the child.
Yeah.
um so I'm looking forward to this opportunity to be a lot more present with it and see it actively in my life. Yeah. How about you? Have you been present with unconditional love?
Honestly, no. Just short answer, no. You know,
Yeah.
um, I also don't feel, I grew up not feeling loved. I didn't have my mom growing up. She passed away when I was a toddler. And so, and I just never felt that embrace or that unconditional love by anyone else, but God, you know what I mean? Like, I've always had this sense of I feel blessed in a lot of ways. Like, I've always been grateful for things in my life because I know that, I had this point of reference where I would say, things could be worse, And
Hmm.
so I tried to maintain a sense of gratitude. If nothing else, love God unconditionally, love the Most High, the universe, spirit unconditionally. But there came a point in my life where I even got a little frustrated with that because I'm like, geez, why don't I feel loved here on earth? Why don't I feel loved with my family? Why don't I feel loved with my friends? Why don't I feel loved, at work where I'm pouring, myself and, just doing my best? So there's definitely been this reckoning, this point in my life where I'm like, okay, like you said earlier, it has to start with me, you know what I mean? And I have to love myself unconditionally
Hmm.
through everything, you know what I mean? Accept as we were last week talking, last month, yeah, up to last week, talking about the darkness and accept my darkness, accept my light, um, and accept myself wholly and fully, like just really accept myself wholly and fully and not reject or ignore or, just put away any parts of myself. And so I have not been present to unconditional love, but I have been working on it. And it is something that I have been working on for quite some time now because I want to feel good in my body. I want to feel good about my life. I just want to find myself in the best situations around the best people, places, and things. I just see those little ears peeking.
He's right there.
I see. um, short answer, no, but I have been working on it, and it's
Mhm.
something that has, I feel like my awareness and my presence with it has been increasing over time, which has
Mhm.
led us to this, which is amazing because real quick, I just want to thank you for introducing this topic because yes, this is something that I've been thinking about. It's
Mhm.
something I've been, wanting to be present with for at least the last 2 months. You know what I mean? But it's not something that I have felt. So I'm really excited to dive into this and define it, see it in my mind's eye, feel it in my body, and, live it and experience it in life.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to say, and it's interesting that you mentioned feeling the unconditional love of God because that's one of the things that I don't think until I really had that awakening and got out of the religious like arena that I never even thought that that was something that was possible because the love I learned about from God was very conditional. You will go to hell. You
Mm,
will, you know. And so I'm glad that you brought that up because that's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to delving into this month is the difference, if there is any, between the love that God shows us and how God shows that love and how we as humans show that love to one another, being these beings that are, spiritual but living in these human bodies. Like how does that play out and what does that look like? Because am I expecting something different from God than I expect from my fellow human?
mm,
You know, or am I expecting humans to love me the way God loves me and that's not really possible because we live in a world that is finite. It does have limits. To some extent, I know in a spiritual sense they aren't there, but it's just something I'm interested in pondering. So I'm looking forward to us having that conversation, and I appreciate you mentioning that. Even if it has wavered over, different periods of your life, you still have a reference of feeling that God loves you, and that's something that's really recently new to me.
wow.
Yeah, really recently, especially growing up, um, and knowing that I was gay, and not knowing that I was gay, but like having those feelings and feeling like, oh, I can't accept that part of me because God is going to, I'm going to hell. This is not, So I never really had that feeling growing up, or at least, until like my late 30s, early 40s when I started to have this spiritual awakening. So this is going to be a great month of like really deep conversations about some of these topics.
No, seriously. I remember when you first mentioned that to me, sometime within the last year, and I was just like, wow, like I never thought, even though I've done things that are wrong too, and I'm not perfect, but me being heterosexual, I've never had that, kind of like damned to hell kind of, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
thing over me. And I just think it's so unfortunate that, the church and, people, make people feel like that because of something that maybe they don't understand. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that part I kind of get because I have felt like ostracized for people not understanding me, but it's not to that degree. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm just really grateful for you to be here to share your experience so that other people who may have had a similar experience can, maybe it'll awaken some minds and eyes, and, people will know that, hey, maybe I have felt closed off from God, because sometimes these things are like subconscious, like
Yeah.
you're aware of it, but some people may not be aware of that, maybe
Hmm.
that's why they feel closed off to God. So thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to, diving in and, really not only helping ourselves, because we're healing out loud here on Earth School
Yes, we.
Journey, you know what I'm saying? But also helping others to have, some healing experiences as well, and epiphanies, and feel that unconditional love. It's time. It's
Yes.
time. It's time. It's
Yes.
time. It's time. So, next, we'll dive into like some of our journal prompts. Do you want to start with the first one, maybe?
Yeah, sure. We have kind of been talking about this a little bit so
Yeah,
far. Um,
yeah.
but I think it's a great journal prompt, and it's one that I'm going to sit with. It's, what does unconditional love feel like to me? And so, I've already said that I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. And so I think I'm going to take this question over the next week, between now and the next time that we meet and we record, and really ponder this question, and maybe take it on a daily basis and just sit with it until something kind of, pops up, and see where it's led. I definitely will take this question into meditation and ask spirit to kind of give me some guidance, show me, maybe there are times that I have experienced it, but there are so many negatives that I'm not recalling them, or I've been so focused on the negatives that I'm not recalling them, and so, I really, ask spirit to show me times when unconditional love has been shown to me, show me times, and show me how it feels to be unconditionally loved by God. How does it feel? um yeah, I just, I imagine that it's very freeing. Like, it's a very freeing experience to know that you are loved without conditions, that you are always loved, that you will always be accepted, that it's just, I feel like my human mind just, it immediately goes to, well, what if I'm not good? What if I'm abusive? What if I'm mean? What if I'm, how am I loved then? And so I'm gonna definitely take this into my meditation times and journal on it, and I can be honest, I really suck at journaling, like I really do. But this question right here, what does unconditional love feel like to me? Yeah, I have to, definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I agree. Me too. I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I love how you spoke about how you think, you imagine like that feeling would be freeing.
Mhm.
We're in, the month of December now. We're in, Sagittarius season, and Sagittarius is the explorer, it's ruled by Jupiter. Everything is big, 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 big
Mhm.
energy. You know what I mean? Expansion is the key word that a lot of people use. It's going to expand whatever you are experiencing. You know what I mean? And so, for us to dive into unconditional love at this time, I am looking forward to expanding that for ourselves in the collective, and really exploring that and feeling a sense of freedom. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Listen, I'm ready to be free. Take the shackles off, let me out. I'm
Right.
ready. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Ready to be free from all the thoughts of the times when maybe I wasn't loved. You know what I mean? I want to be free from those things, or when I didn't feel loved, when I
Mhm.
didn't feel embraced. I want to be free from all of that so that I can embrace unconditional love. So yes, thank you so much for mentioning freedom, because that's, yeah, I'm all for that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So our next journal prompt is, what parts of myself feel abandoned or closed off to unconditional love? Go ahead, you're gonna talk.
No, I just said wow because it's such a powerful question. Go
It,
ahead.
it is. It's
Yes.
like, I'm just like, as I'm sitting here, like my mind is also like, you know, there's, it's just so, I think that a lot of times we as parents, you know what, I can't. Um, I think a lot of times parents don't understand how they impact this question for children. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Even me as a mom, like I haven't been a perfect mom, and I have had to acknowledge some ways that I wasn't fully showing up for my daughter, even though I was definitely trying to, but because I was so immersed and bogged down and going through so much, like I couldn't fully show up. And there are some things as a result that wow, you giving me face, oh and goodness. He's so adorable. Goodness gracious. He's like a supermodel. You saw that look? He was like,
Okay. I can't.
uh,
Oh my goodness.
but I love the comic relief. But yeah, I think that it's when we think about this question, it's important to think about our inner child and maybe the ways that are not in a blaming way, but just kind of in an understanding way that maybe some of the ways that we were taught to close off, or you know what I mean, some of the ways we felt abandoned when we needed unconditional love from family and friends and things like that, and how that may have shaped us, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, over time. And because that's kind of what I'm getting from this question. It's like how have we been shaped as a result and kind of closed off certain parts of ourselves? And how can we look at them with love and care and decide, make our own decision about what we want to, bring back with us into the light and bring, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Going on this consciousness journey slash adventure, and you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
what parts feel closed off and what am I going to open back up for myself,
Yeah.
so or accept for myself.
Mhm.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, this is a great question. I feel there's the big obvious things like up until my late 30s, early 40s, well, late 30s, and I got married and when I turned 40. So up until that point, that was, my sexuality was something that I had completely abandoned. That
Mm,
everyone had shoved that away, and so I it was closed off. It was not there, it wasn't able to express. And okay, that's a big thing, but there are smaller things like where have I abandoned myself in self-care? Where have I abandoned
mm,
myself in, and I feel like looking at it in that way of like, where have I abandoned myself because of the way other people have treated me,
yeah,
And so that's going to be a good one to explore, as a journal prompt. So thanks for that question.
yeah, for sure. And do you want to read the last one that we have? Excuse me.
Yes. This one is great. This one is deep. Okay. What have I mistaken for unconditional love? Wow. Like, okay, as somebody who has had PTSD, been dissociative, been just outrageous, like at times mental health wise, where I was acting out and been hospitalized. Like, I've dealt with a lot mental health wise, and I have lost a lot of people
Mm,
because of it. And I have felt like they didn't love me for it, right? But the older I get, the more I realize, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that. So it's just like, hey, that's not my crap. That's your crap. You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily need to deal with that. And so I'm really looking forward to determining, kind of where I was loved unconditional. This goes back to feel how I feel about unconditional love. It's like, where was I actually being loved unconditionally and didn't realize it? And also, like, what have I thought was unconditional love? That abusive partner who made me feel bad and made me feel like I was the one who was wrong and they were verbally abusive, never been in a I can't say I've never been in a physically abusive relationship. I have, but I've left them quick. But the abusive relationships that were like mental and emotional were the ones where I stayed longer because you don't, it's not an obvious, oh, they didn't hit me, so I'm fine. Like there's nothing, we just fight a lot or we just argue a lot or they just talk down to me or whatever. And, you know, that's not necessarily the case in my life right now, but to look at the effects that that has on how I treat other people, the effect that that has on, you know, how I love my children, how I love my partner, how I love, my, how I love my wife, how I love in general my friends. And so, yeah, what have I mistaken for unconditional love? Have I mistaken abuse for unconditional love? Have I mistaken wanting someone to accept me no matter what bull I'm putting out? you know, because I know, oh, me in my 20s, like, I don't even know that girl no more.
Same,
You know what I
same.
mean? Like, I'm pretty sure that I
Yeah.
did some wild stuff and I expected people to just accept it, and that acceptance was love, but that's not necessarily true. And so this is a really great question for, each of us to really take in to some meditative time in ways that, where did you expect love when, and what did you expect love to look like when you were acting out? Or when has somebody else been acting out and you thought that you were being loving
Mm.
by just dealing with it? So this is going to be a this is a game changer too. These are like all heavy hitting questions. I mean, we kind of do this every month where we pick these big questions, but some of them, oh, they just hit a little deeper than others.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Mhm.
When I was pondering the journal prompts, I'm just like, because initially the way I phrased this question, and was I kind of like answered it in the question, and then I was like, no, 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 no. Like, I don't want to talk about how I've mistaken unconditional love. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
let me take that out and
Right.
those specifics and look at it from a really clear and deep level and really consider, like you said, consider it from both sides, because while I think I may be the most loving and caring and you know what I mean, it may not be that. The way I may have thought that, being in certain environments around certain people was unconditionally loving them, and being like it was all distorted. You know what I mean? In my point of view, I feel like I had a complete distortion, and it comes from, being separated from my true self and not being allowed or embraced in my wholeness and being able to share, my love unconditionally. So I have, again, I feel a lot of it is in the molding, and not only just molding from our parents, but how we respond to that molding. You know what I mean? So it's not always just, and I've definitely, I want to take accountability, because I don't want to be that person that's like blaming my parents for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I have to acknowledge how how that environment shaped me, how that raising and rearing shaped me, how I responded to it, and now how I reacted to it. Let's clear that up. How I reacted to it, and now how I'm going to consider and respond differently. You know what I mean? Because I feel like it was initially just a reaction. Like I wasn't really thinking. I'm thinking I'm doing the best that I can, but over time, as they say, wisdom, is the best, and experience is the best teacher. You know what I mean? And so, again, I think I laughed about it earlier last month. Like, when you get to a certain age, you understand certain things that you didn't
Mhm.
get. And so I'm just grateful to be at this place and able to explore these things and, really be able to respond differently from a place of wholeness and unconditional love.
Mhm.
So, next we're going to talk about the cycles and transits of this month. Again, we mentioned a little earlier about this being December. It's the last month of the calendar year. It is now Sagittarius season. What does Sagittarius season mean to you? Like, what do you think of when you think of Sagittarius season?
Hmm. Sagittarius, I mean, in general, to me, is all about like a broadened perspective,
Hmm.
because Sagittarius is related to Jupiter and travel and higher
Hmm.
education and kind of um, cultural norms and societal, like it's really big picture things. It's really that,
Hmm.
like, not looking at the trees, looking at the whole forest and seeing, how things fit together. And so I see Sagittarius season as being a season of, really deep introspection, and taking that introspection and reflecting on the greater whole. So looking at, not just looking at how I feel on the inside, but also looking at how I impact everything around me and how everything around me impacts me. And so Sagittarius season, to me, I feel it really is about looking deeper. And if you look at this time of year, right, we have Christmas and people, it's more of a communal time. It's more of a social time. It's a lot of religious things kind of happen in this time, which is a very sad kind of thing. There's also a lot of travel that happens in this month because people are visiting family. So that's really what I think of when I think of Sag. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all of that. And, also just thinking about how I feel like, hmm, on the one hand, I want to say that, maybe in the old days, people would be kind of like dormant, kind of like hibernating, kind of like, you know what I mean? Kind of like just chilling and like really planning for the next year or the next um season of preparation for planting your seeds and things like that. Um, so to that aspect, I think that it's definitely a time of like going within and like really thinking broad, you know what I mean? Like kind of
Hmm.
like looking over like what we've done in the past year and then also thinking about how we can do better in the next year. Um, I mean, I don't know if they did that in the old days or not. I mean, I don't know. It was just kind of like where I was thinking about it.
Hmm.
Um, but also one of the things I was thinking about how these celebrations and like family time when we come together and how like Christmas, it's all about like lights and things, even though it's a time of darkness still. You know what I mean? Like we have like something about the way our society has been structured to bring light to this time of year and bring
Hmm.
togetherness and family to this time of year, I think is one of the things that they got right. You know what I mean? Because there can be a lot of like seasonal depression, and there can be a lot of, maybe some people when they go down the thought process of, what's happened last year and maybe they feel bleak about the upcoming year. You know what I mean?
Right.
So these celebrations and things, I feel like it's really, really good because it brings light to a dark time of year otherwise.
Hmm.
And so that's what I really love about Sagittarius season. And we have a full moon in Gemini on December 4th, which is actually tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tomorrow. So it's a super moon in Gemini. And one of the things I love about Gemini, it's a lot of they talk a lot, it's a lot of chatter, a lot of thought processes, a lot of you know what I mean, just a lot of things going on. I feel like Sag and Gemini together with all of the activity, all of the expansion, all of the thoughts, it could definitely be a time when people can, it could, well, I want to say it could be a little chaotic at times, but I think that it's important for us to, as we've said before, like really bring these things up so that we can have some clarity around, these
Mhm.
cycles, and we can kind of get ahead of it and have some understanding and um, kind of avoid the the downside of it. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
that we can really focus on the positives and things like that. I'm really excited because I feel like this would be a good time to release anything that it has been clouding my communication, clouding my mental thoughts, and just anything that I really have going
Mhm.
on. It's really a good time to get clear, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and release anything that's getting in the way. What do you think about the full moon in Gemini?
So I love full moons.
Same.
I'm I'm a Cancer sun, so and so I'm very moon focused. But I love the full moon because it really is. It's that light in the dark.
Mm.
It's literally the light in the dark. It's all night. It's up there. It's big. It's beautiful. It's shining down, reflecting the sun's light into our visual spectrum so that we can see at night. And it's really um my one of my favorite YouTubers who talks about this stuff. She says it's like a spotlight. It really is. It's like a spotlight on what's been going on so that you can examine what's working, what's not working. And Gemini, like you said, is very much about communication. Gemini, when I think of Gemini, I also think of freedom because they switch up a lot because they
They
feel
do.
nothing about changing their mind, which, a lot of people don't like that, but think about how freeing that is to be like, okay, well, I was on board with this, but things changed. I'm going over here. And yes, there's something to be said for keeping commitments. Also, there's something to be said for feeling that freedom of being able to, it's my prerogative. I can change my mind if I want to.
Hmm.
Maybe this wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Maybe I need to change some things. And so I encourage people to look at the chart, figure out where this full moon is falling in your chart and what house it's in specifically. And reflecting on that area of life. For me, Gemini is in Sag's house, so it's in the ninth house for me, and it's on the cusp of my 10th house. So you know, it, I know that I need to look at some of the broader perspectives, some of those, higher learning and those Sag themes because it is in the ninth house. But I think it's in general just full moons for me are a great time for reflection and looking deeper into a specific area. And so I always encourage people, and I will probably say this every single month when we talk about the full moon, look at where it is in your chart. Same with the new moon. Where is it in your chart, in your personal birth chart? Like, where does it fall? And you probably have something moving in that area or something that you need to take a look at because that's where the spotlight is this month. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that thought about the spotlight. I was born on a full moon, and so I'm very connected to the full moon too. I love full moon times. Every month, I love that we get to see one every month, and I love doing, some sort of release ritual around the full moon. So that I can embrace my wholeness. What do I need to let go of so that I
Hmm.
can embrace my wholeness? That's what I think about around every full moon. So thank you so much for sharing that spotlight. I love that. So what else we got going on this month? We have a on the 12th, we have Neptune going direct in Pisces. And I was thinking about this, and I was saying to myself because I have Neptune in the first house, and I'm very connected to Neptune as well. And I feel like it being retrograde over the last some odd months, it has really given us a chance to review like our beliefs and our values and things. And I think this is so key this month because Neptune is about, your dreams, your ideals. You can be deluded by certain things. It can also represent like, your religion to a degree, but so can Jupiter, which rules Sagittarius. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
about like the things that you really believe in, higher learning, your belief systems and things like that. And so I really love that Neptune is going direct during Sagittarius season, even though it's going direct in Pisces, because I feel like those two together is really going to help some people, get clear on the things that they believe in, and really, really, really get clear on, how we can make this world a better place. We've been seeing so much division. We've been seeing people getting snatched off the street. I mean, it's just been crazy out here. I've been praying for, some things to turn around because this ain't right what we've been seeing. It's not right at all. And I'm hoping that, with um all of the things that because I've been seeing a lot of people kind of like changing their minds about certain things that they were backing, and things that they really believed in, and you know what I mean. And so I hope now that Neptune is going direct, that we'll see some people actually putting some action behind that, the same way you were supporting that and talking and pointing fingers and doing all of that. Now that you see that maybe it's not as great as you thought it was, you see the grass isn't so green, maybe you can put some energy and thoughts and action behind really doing the right thing. So I'm really hoping that's the case, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest.
Okay.
And then we have, we talked about Sagittarius. Mercury is going to enter Sagittarius on the 11th. I think, one of the things I kind of like and don't like about Sag is, how honest and direct they can be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's like no filter, I guess is the way. So me being a Leo sun, you know what I mean? And I like to be positive and all of that. Sometimes all of that, I like to be direct, but in a nice way, you know what I mean? So
Right.
sometimes Sag uh, communication can throw me for a loop. One thing I want to say is, during this time, that it's okay not to take it personal. That's something that I've had to learn, is like not to take it personal. We do need our blunt brothers and sisters out here to some degree. But if ever, it's too much for you, that's where boundaries come in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's where you let people know, hey, I'm not okay with that. But I think that Sag season, with Mercury entering Sag, it gives us an opportunity to really be honest with each other, um, and share, more better communication, I guess, for lack of a better term. And just a couple other things. Mars is going to enter Capricorn on the 15th. We may see, people wanting to be more disciplined. And the thing about Capricorn, too, that I was thinking about earlier, I was saying to myself, Capricorn is really good because they can be very good at following through and things like that. But the thing that you got to be careful is about being inflexible with Capricorn. Make sure that if plans don't go as you expect and things like that. Thankfully, Mercury is out of retrograde, so hopefully travel goes well and things like that. But if things don't go as planned, please try to be a little flexible and give the universe an opportunity to show you that everything's going to be all right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, sometimes that inflexibility can kind of cause some turbulence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think having it be Mars though, because Mars is, when I think of Mars, it's a kind of an uncontrollable. So it may balance pretty well being in Capricorn. Mars is also the planet of motivation. We think of aggression when we think of Mars, but it's really what motivates you, what makes you move, what gets you going.
Right.
And so there may be some movement around things, Capricorn things. So business, reputation, your career. I know we're in the middle of the dark season, and it's usually seen as a season of rest, but Capricorn season can be a very productive time. It may
Hmm.
be productive in the sense of planning. It may be productive in the sense of, especially with some of these other planets in their position, supporting kind of more introspection and broader thinking. There's a lot that can manifest. Again, look at where it falls in your house, in your chart, and what house it's in. But that's going to be an interesting one. I have Mars in the ninth house. I'm going to have a very Sag heavy month, I think.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to go over the next few?
Sure. New moon in Sag. We've said a lot about Sagittarius. New moon is a great time to set intentions. It's a new cycle. It's starting over, and so really reflecting, before that new moon on things, and you having the full moon in Gemini, you'll have done a lot of reflection, right? By looking at things and what's working, what's not working. When we get to this new moon in Sag on the 19th, by then you should have an idea of things that need to be changed. And so it's a great time to set those intentions. And Sagittarius is a fire sign. So I feel like setting intentions, around a fire sign is really going to light some fire to those
Can
intentions.
I,
And go ahead.
yes, can I just say one thing real quick? I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but Sagittarius, you know what I just thought of while you were speaking? The man who was like, think big, B, think big, B, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
That's what I think of when I think of a new moon in Sagittarius. Think big, think
Yes.
big. Yeah,
Yes.
so.
Set those goals, set them big, set those intentions, more than goals, intentions. Like set intentions. I intend to do, big things, and yeah, I think it's a great time to be bold, you know. And of course, on the 21st, the sun enters Capricorn, and we talked a little bit about Capricorn season. Um and that's the kind of the shift into a little more discipline, a little more money earning. And Capricorn is about financial stability. It's an earth sign. It's really about being stable in a resource. I don't just want to say financial, but resource sense, in a sense of physical resources. And so yeah, we have that to look forward to. And then on Christmas Eve, Venus enters Capricorn, which Venus is the planet of love and values. Um, and so, yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about, we, with the sun already entering Capricorn, Venus entering Capricorn, it's going to be really centered on Capricorn things. Venus is your values, it's what you attract, it's what you're attracted to. And so you can look to be attracting and looking at and Capricorn like things. Again, where does that fall for you and your chart? I'm always going to send you back to your own chart. I do look at everybody's chart in my family because I kind of want to know where things are going on with everybody. But I use every transit to look at my own life and because it's an opportunity to move things. It's an opportunity to transmute things. It's an opportunity to change your perspective and see where maybe you've been looking at things, in a way that's not very productive, or look at what's going right and do more of that.
Right.
um, but yeah, lots of things moving around in the sky this month. And yeah, that's mine.
Yeah. I love how, we start. December off and Sagittarius season. And like you said, it's all about thinking big. It's all about planning big. It's all about really highlighting the best parts of our lives and really letting go of those things that could be getting in the way of our wholeness. And then towards the end of the month, in our calendar year, we really get grounded and rooted in the things that we value on a deeper level. You know what I mean? We allow
Mhm.
ourselves to identify those things that make us feel safe, make us feel stable, make us feel whole. You know what I mean? What are those things that you are kind of like non-negotiable on? After you've done all this exploring and thinking, what are your non-negotiables? What are the things that you refuse? Like, again, what are the things that you refuse to be flexible on? Which there's some good to that, and there's some not so good. So you gotta look at that for what it's worth in your life, in your chart. And if nothing else, just consider unconditional love and wholeness this month, because that's the theme that we're talking
Yes.
about.
Yes.
And so finally, our sacred announcements. This month, again, we're going to be meeting every Wednesday. We are going to be doing a deep dive next Wednesday on unconditional love. And then the following Wednesday, we'll be taking one topic in relation to unconditional love and doing an even deeper dive on that. And then the fourth Wednesday of the month, we'll be doing our study hall where we will talk about some tools and some resources and some things that we found helpful for us along the way when it comes to unconditional love. And then finally, because we have a fifth Wednesday this month, which is New Year's Rockin' Eve. No. We're going to be doing a year in review. Again, as Umi said earlier, this is our 6 month anniversary in, towards the end of this month. And so we are so excited. We're thankful that you all have been rocking with us, joining us. We see our numbers are growing. Thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed, liked, shared, and commented. We are really looking forward to continuing to share our Earth School journey with you. And we hope that you will join us and share yours with us as well. It has been an amazing 6 months. And not only are we going to be doing a year in review, we're also going to be setting some intentions for the new year. We have so many things that we've been talking about behind the scenes that we want to bring to the collective, and we'll be setting some intentions around really making sure that we are, doing those things. So,
Yes.
yeah, thank you. Anything else from you, Umi?
No, I definitely am excited for this like year-end review, and we're gonna attempt to kind of take some clips from previous episodes and put them together, and we even considered there was a false start in January of this year where we attempted to record a couple of times. And they while the conversation was great, the recording was not. We were very stiff and like not really flowing. And so we're going to share some of these things with you if we can figure out the technological aspects of doing so. And I'm looking forward to that so we can see how we've grown and appreciate that, and pay respect to our own growth and show some love to our own commitment to this, and really setting some intentions for next year. I know we've mentioned a few things like these 21-day journeys that we've been talking about, and you know, um, maybe putting up some more kind of examples of different practices that we talk about a lot of practices on this show, and we talk about them repeatedly, and we may have some intentions around giving a little more guidance in those areas, at least of how we practice those things. Um, so there's a lot of goodies that I'm looking forward to in that show. Yeah.
Yeah, likewise.
Mhm.
Likewise. Well, thank you all again so much for joining us. This has been Earth School Journey with your December homeroom check-in. We are really going to be diving into unconditional love this month. And, we love you all unconditionally. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for commenting, liking, sharing, all of that good stuff. We will definitely be seeing you next week, same time, same place. We hope you have a beautiful week until then. Peace and love.
Peace.